What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We're back for round 4 of the Six Nations, doing some preview videos. We've already done one for the Italy-Wales game. That sort of wooden spoon potential decider. Looking forward to see that one. But this one is going to be for the second game of the weekend. England versus France. Of course, in these preview videos is where we check out the official teams that have been announced for both sides, go through the list, who's some good picks, some bad picks, some thoughts about team tactics, and finally give a score prediction. If you enjoy the style of video, make sure to drop it a like, your thoughts on the teams down in the comments, and subscribe to the channel because we'll be doing these preview videos for all of the rest of the Six Nation games. Starting out then, England versus France, Le Crunch, the big game a lot of people look forward to. Seen some really mad stats about this game coming out over the last week. I saw one the other day talking about how France haven't won a championship game against England in Twickenham since 2005. I can't believe that's true, but I keep seeing that thing everywhere, so it must be true. I haven't actually gone in and checked that out, but that seems astonishing for how long it's been since France have been able to take that one in Twickenham. So starting out then, let's talk about the home team to begin with. England last week played Wales in a game that went their way. They got the result. Any win in Cardiff is a big win for England, but I still felt there was a lot missing out in that England team. Owen Farrell missed a number of kicks. I think he missed 2 penalties, 2 conversions. Am I right in that? So 10 points going adrift from an international fly half kicking towards post. You know, you would expect a lot of those kicks to be going over. They could have taken that game even further away. A couple of their things just not quite working out for them. A couple of mistakes here and there. Freddie Stewart had a good game. We got to see Anthony Watson go over for a try. Things are beginning to click into place for England. But I wasn't that impressed by the Wales performance, and to only come away with that 10-point sort of gap as a win, I still feel like they might have wanted a bit more to take away from that one, as well as some of the decisions around the team. I was thinking about half-time, I'd be checking on Marcus Smith, Mitchell, Arundel. I'd be getting all those lads on at about 45, 50 minutes, try and shake the game up for England, and they came on for, what, like a minute? Did they even play like a minute at the end? Some very odd decision making towards the end of that game. So going into this one, I'm really hoping England take that extra little step up, and they'll need to because France have got a lot to fight for in this game. Take a look at the team then. Now there is one big selection choice that's been made here, which we sort of go off before we go through the team, because it was announced last week that Marcus Smith had just been dropped from the team. And then he sort of came back into the team, and now he's in the starting team. So he's made quite a recovery in the last week. I did see the highlights from him in the Harlequins game, and he seems to be having a really good game. So looking forward to see how he gets on in this one. But starting out in this front row, Ellis Genge, Jamie George, Kyle Sinclair. Ellis Genge taking over as captain with Owen Farrell being moved to the bench. I still think this is the best starting front row for England. I think there seems to be a real drop in that England front row once the starting front row comes off and the replacements come on, especially dropping someone like Ellis Genge, who just runs so hard at the line and just always seems to make meters on every carry. I think he absolutely has to be staying on there. And I see him as captain, really settling his game down recently, just cracking on with it. Hopefully as captain, he's not going to be quite as fiery as we've seen him in the past, but does lead from the front. I know he's got a bit of experience in terms of leadership as well. It's nice to see him getting that shout as well. In the lock department, Maro Itoje and Ollie Chesham beginning to get a bit more level pegging now. Ollie Chesham for me has been the better standout lock so far in this tournament. Itoje for me last week against Wales, making a little bit more of a step up, getting back into his game, putting himself right on the edge of the law a couple of times as we like to see him do. But they're really beginning to sort of lock in place now in that lock department. Back row, Lewis Ludlam, Jack Willis and Alex Dombrance. Again, these lads are been proven. I feel like I don't talk enough about Lewis Ludlam. I think he's actually been playing really well. He's just one of those lads who gets on enough with the hard graft in the background that I feel like I just sort of pass over talking about him. But he's been playing extremely well. Jack Willis as well, making himself get involved in that open side position every single time. Of course, the first game we got to see him, and he didn't play that long in the game, but made a massive impact. He got the chance again last week. I think he's doing really well. I'd keep him in that number 7 shirt. In the halfback partnership, Van Poortvliet goes in alongside of Marcus Smith, with Owen Farrell being dropped to the bench. I'm not sure in terms of kicking. Marcus Smith's kicking in an England shirt hasn't always been the best, as well as Owen Farrell recently not being the best. So hopefully they're on the training pitch, they're working hard, because France have got some damn good kickers in terms of just kicking 3 points and stuff. So it's going to be a real crucial part of this game. I would expect on the training field they're getting them knocked down. Maybe even looking at some other people that could kick towards post have got a good boot on them. So if Marcus begins to miss them, switch them out, have someone else that can take over the kicking duty. Someone like maybe like Henry Slade. I'm sure Freddie Stewart's got a good enough boot on him as well if he gave it a good crack. But just have some other people that can take over in case things start to sort of happen like we saw against Wales last week. In the centre partnership, Ollie Lawrence and Henry Slade. Ollie Lawrence just dominating that inside centre position. I had another good game against Wales last week. He's been given the opportunity to show off. He deserves to be in the starting team in the centre. No need for that 10-12 axis anymore with Owen Farrell. Ollie Lawrence taken 12, and absolutely should say there. I think he's been having a really good tournament so far. Nice to see him staying there again for the third game on the bounce. And then in the back three, Anthony Watson, Max Malins, Freddie Stewart. No need to switch up a whole bunch throughout this team. Freddie Stewart, like I said, having a good game last week. So much time on the ball. I did watch the Squidge Rugby video, doing the breakdown video for the Wales-England game. That was a really fun video to watch, talking about how Freddie Stewart's sort of one of those players who just puts himself in the position to constantly receive the ball. Wales didn't really give the best chase. I've talked a bit more about that one in the Wales-Italy game. But I don't feel like Wales gave him enough of an issue to deal with. But all day long, looked confident under the high ball. Absolutely fantastic. And a good counter run from him on a couple of occasions. But overall, as a 1-15, this is a good England side. Only one main change, I think, there from the team we got to see last week in Marcus Smith starting. And that, for me, shows a bit more of an attacking England team. So I'm quite happy with that decision. I feel like that's a good move for them. In terms of the replacements then, Jack Walker goes in alongside Mako Vunipola and Dan Cole, alongside the replacement forwards Ribbans and Ben Curry. So the 5-3 for England, I did wonder whether either team would go down to the 5-3 or whether they could just stick with the 6-2 and it might be a bit of a forwards game. England have gone for the 5-3, going for Alex Mitchell, Owen Farrell and Harry Arundel on that bench as well for the backs. I really want to see Alex Mitchell and Arundel have more time on the field. I felt last week against Wales that they were beginning to slow down and I really wanted to see some more energetic attack from England. I would have brought those two lads on so early into that second half and given them some time on the pitch. We really didn't get to see it, so I'm hoping in this one against France we do get to see them explode onto the scene. But this is a good England side. They are slowly beginning to put those pieces into place. They're beginning to lock up as a team. Hopefully Marcus Smith's kicking is going to be a little bit better than we got to see from Farrell last week. To give this France team a good game in Twickenham. So talking of France then, France last week played Scotland in a bit of a wild game. We had 2 red cards, there were 4 tries in the opening 25 minutes, absolute chaos going in that one. France coming away the victors, but certainly a hard fought game. Scotland really pushing them for a lot of that one. Going into this one, they will want to just settle themselves down a bit, no need to give away red cards for nothing, no sort of easy penalties, and there has also been a couple of switches out from that Scotland game, most of which have been forced. Only one of them I believe to be choice orientated, but they have had a couple of switches going into this one. Starting out then in this front row, Cyril Bay, Julien Marchand and Aldegheri comes in that tight head shirt. They're on to the third tight head now. They're beginning to run out. Antonio, of course, getting cited after their game against Ireland. And then we had the red card coming in last week. So Aldegheri coming in, not a bad prop. But you're beginning to run out now. You've got to try and keep the discipline on lock and not be giving away those sort of cards or anything that's going to get you sort of disciplinaries afterwards. But Cyril Bay and Julien Marchand, both fantastic players, get themselves over the ball, making an absolute nuisance of themselves in a lot of the games you get to see them. It's still a good front row. I'm sure Aldegheri want to make the most of this opportunity. In the lock department, Thibaut Flamand and Willemse in there. Thibaut Flamand being one of the sort of surprise stars for me over the course of the Six Nations. Had a good game, every game, consistently across the entire Six Nations so far. I really thought with Cameron Vokey out, they might be missing a little bit of sort of spice in that number 4 shirt. Flamand has come on and played terrifically. I think maybe, for me, one of the breakthrough players that we've got to see in this Six Nations really step up. So nice to see him still in that number 4 shirt. In the back row, Francois Cross comes in alongside Charles Olivant and Gregory Aldrit. Now, of course, Jalanche last week, man, I don't know what he had going on in his own personal life. He just wanted to get stuck into everything. That was a man putting his body on the line. Unfortunately, causing himself an injury a couple of times. Went off for his HIA, then came back on, and then just threw himself back into more, and then got another injury. Man, he absolutely put his body on the line for that France team last week. Phenomenal opening 15 minutes for him, but did go off. Francois Cross, though, came on. Big impact into the game, was all over the field for about 60 minutes in that game. I thought he played really well, so unfortunate for Jalanche not being able to play in this one, but Francois Cross playing extremely well. Looking forward to get to see him. Greg Aldrit Man, where has this guy been? Feels quiet. So last week we had the red card. He had to go off so they could bring on the replacement tight head. We didn't really get to see a lot of him in some of the last games as well. I'm really hoping this is the one where we get to see Gregor Aldrit step up a bit, have some time on the ball, good possession, make some good meters, some good carries, try and make an impact into this game, because I feel like the world of the Six Nations has been a bit harsh against him this year. Anyway, in the halfback partnership, Antoine Dupont retains as captaincy alongside a Romain Ntamak, both of which both still playing really well, actually. Ntamak's doing well in that fly half shirt, playing some really nice offloads for the rest of his team. I think they've still got the correct call. I think with how good Ramos has been at kicking, I still don't think I would give the kicking duties back over to Ntamak. I would leave that with Ramos, but I think he's been playing well at fly half. In the centre partnership, one switch up this week. Jonathan Darnty back into the side, recovering after a massive injury. He's been out for a good while, Jonathan Darnty, and Gaël Ficou, who defensively has been sound through most of this Six Nations, to be fair. But Jonathan Darnty is one of those players I really enjoyed for when we got to see him. He's a big unit. He's got a decent speed on him, but he's just a big man to take down. He also puts himself out on the wing a lot. A lot of those tries come from him being able to support a runner, finds himself out on the wing, and someone's got to try and take him down. Poor fullbacks have to try and deal with him all day long. I think he's a really good player. It's nice to see him back into the side, and Mofana moving back to the bench. And then finally in the back three, Demortier, Damien Penaud, and Thomas Ramos. So, you know, we've been seeing this all through the tournament. Demortier's actually got a couple of tries under his name now. I don't really feel like I've got to see quite enough of him as I want to. He's a bit of a nuisance in terms of people tackling him. He's sort of jinxing in and out of the tackles. You can see the sevens vibe coming through on him. I just really want to see this lad in space. I want to see someone get this ball out to him really early with a bit of an overlap and just let him run. I want to see him sort of open up a bit. We haven't quite got to see it yet. One lad that has done it, Damien Penaud, against that Ireland team with his fantastic breakaway try. And Ramos, of course, like I've already sort of mentioned, the kicking duties. There's a bit of a talking point here when we come on to the bench around that fullback position. Actually, we'll get on to that in a second. In terms of the replacements, then Movaka goes in alongside Wardy, and Falatea, along with their replacement forwards of Taufai Funua and Makalu. So they've gone for the 5-3 split as well. Now, I believe this is the first game of the Six Nations for France where they've gone for the 5-3 rather than the 6-2. It may well be they're just running out of forwards because everyone's sort of going out slowly, but I think this is much more a choice decision by them. The choice that they've made, though, for the 5-3 split, the replacement backs, Maxime Loukou, Mofana, and Jaminet, is an interesting setup here because, well, I mean, Dupont's playing most of the game anyway. You don't really get to spend a lot of time with him. Mofana, I do think, is a good choice to have on the bench. He can play centre or wing. So that gives you a bit of versatility later on into the game. Melvin Jaminet is an interesting call because, to my understanding, I've only ever seen Jaminet play fullback. Thomas Ramos has been playing really well at fullback, so that feels like an odd swap. I am aware that Ramos can also play fly half. I'm wondering if Jaminet came on, and we've seen Ntamak sort of going off for Jalibert in the past few games. Maybe we see Jaminet come on at fullback and Ramos move to fly half? I mean, it's there if there's an injury situation. Maybe they would just do a direct sub and keep Ntamak on for the full 80. But we haven't really seen that in the Six Nations. Jalibert's been coming on. Although Jalibert has also been coming on at centre as well, actually, I think, hasn't he? I think I've sort of caught myself out a little bit there. So maybe that won't be the situation. I'm looking forward to see what impact that does make when Jaminet comes on and whether they keep Ramos on at fly half or just take him straight off, because I don't know who would take over kicking duties then either. Maybe Jaminet would take over kicking duties. He's also a good kicker. Sort of as I was saying before about the England team, this France team has numerous people that are talented at kicking towards the posts. 3 points, drop goals, like that can sometimes come down to these sorts of games, big games, England versus France. Taking the 3 points at every opportunity can sometimes be the deciding factor. So what do we think in terms of a score prediction for this one then? Well, there seems to be an incredibly long historical run for England wins at Twickenham. Both teams on 2 wins, 1 loss. So not a massive amount separating them in terms of the final scores. But for me, I'm leaning slightly more towards France. I feel like France have got their team gelled a little bit more. I feel like they're going to have slightly better game discipline towards just managing to take those 3 points. England are still giving away those penalties, and if Marcus Smith's kicking isn't quite up to the standard like we sort of saw with Owen Farrell last week, then that might hinder England a little bit. So I'm going to say France to win. I don't think by an awful lot, though. I'm going to say France to win by 4. That's going to be my prediction, guys. So make sure you do drop down in the comment section your thoughts on the teams and also your own score predictions. Make sure you're getting it all up on the Super Brew for round 4 because it's extremely tight now towards that top place position. Looking forward to see how you all get on and checking out your teams in Monday's video. I hope you've all enjoyed this one today, guys. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.